Hi everyone, welcome to the testing phase of the SDLC. This phase is a very critical phase because this is where you assess the quality of your software. Whatever you have done, you make sure that it lives up to the standards and functions as intended. Let us dive deep and see the various aspects of testing that a software has to go through. So if you recollect, we began with the planning phase, moved to the requirements, then to the design, then development, and here we are in the testing phase. So whatever is the output of the development phase now becomes the input to the testing phase. So as the name suggests, testing phase involves validating and making sure that your software is per standards. Testing phase comes after the development phase. So whatever is the output, the product that you created is now going to be validated, tested. And when you test something, you have bugs, you have defects, and you have issues that you are reporting on that software. When you have these issues, somebody from the development team has to fix them. So there is a side-by-side balance going on where testing finds issues and development constantly fixes issues, and then ultimately it goes back to testing. So this cycle repeats until your quality improves to a very good extent. There are different types of testing that happen in a software development lifecycle. The first one we briefly touched on during development, which was the unit testing. You test individual units. Similarly, there could be the testing team that is helping the developers doing unit testing at times. Then there is integration testing. You bring all the units together and you start integrating it and then test it as a one piece. Similarly, once you do that, you then put it into a system testing mode where you can test the entire system in terms of how the quality of the product is, how the interactions between different components work, and so on and so forth. Then lastly, when the system test has cleared, you take it to acceptance testing. Acceptance testing is mostly to make sure that the product lives up to the user's expectation. You test it from a user's perspective. In most cases, it is also called as UAT or user acceptance testing, because this is where the users see the system, test it, and say, hey, this is what we envisioned, this is what we received. So that makes sense and we love the product. That is the statement that you want to go for. And there's always a green light and a red light decision happens when the UAT is about to complete. Green light means your software has been approved. Red light means it has a lot of bugs and needs revision and has to go back to your development. Let's talk about unit testing once again. Unit testing is for individual units or components that have been built by your dev team. It typically is performed by your developers, but sometimes even testers can help out depending on your project composition. It also ensures unit functions correctly in isolation. A quick shout out for myself. I have a handbook on Scrum that will take you from zero to a Scrum Master using the Scrum Guide, as well as an example of creating a fitness app and walking you through the Agile and Scrum principles. If you're interested in Scrum, this book is available for free. The link is in the description. Let's talk about integration testing. It focuses on interaction between your units and when they are integrated into a single component. Similarly, it ensures that when combined units work together, they work as expected. Just like unit testing, even in integration phase, you will find defects and issues that need to be addressed by the dev team. System testing, it evaluates the complete and integrated software system. It tests the software against functional and non-functional requirements. It also ensures that the system as a whole performs and lives up to all the conditions that were there when you created the plan, design, and requirements. And lastly, acceptance testing. It validates the user's perspective on what the software is. It often is performed by the end users or the clients. It determines if the system is going to be accepted or not. The same red light and green light. There is also something more, which is testing and continuous integration. Test automations can also be built into your system or your software development, where you can use automated tools to execute test cases continuously. So if you make a global change, you can just run the test case and make sure that there are no regression issues. Similarly, you can also put it into a continuous integration. So as and when you keep on releasing software, it automatically tests the software and certifies it that the new version of the software will still continue to work. It improves the efficiency and it also has rapid feedbacks. So let's recap. We talked about overview of testing. We talked about types of testing. We talked about unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing, and also automation and continuous integration. So that pretty much touches all the concepts of testing in SDLC. The next slide is the list of questions that I usually get. So the challenges that people usually face during the testing phase. Well, the biggest challenge for any testing team is, if you think about it, they are dependent on the development team. So now, unless and until they get the output on time, they are already delayed. The other thing is managing test cases. If there are too many test cases, too many scripts, if the scripts are not to the standard, then there becomes a problem, because if whatever you prepared for is not ready for you to test. Similarly, how to track so many defects and closing the defect cycle, those are some other challenges that you could face in your testing lifecycle. The next question I get is, how do you ensure that there is enough test coverage? Well, there are tools that are available to tell you how much code coverage is there in terms of your unit testing. So for example, if you're using JavaScript or React or something like that, you could use Jest as a framework. If you're using Java, you could use JUnits. All these test frameworks give you test coverage of the code that you have written, the quality of the code as well. So what are the common tools that we use in testing phase? First, you need a bug tracking system, something like Jira. Right? So that helps you track all your bugs. You could also use GitHub issues, GitLab issues, or even Bitbucket issues. So wherever your version control is, you could also track issues out there in that same system. Then the other thing that comes into is where you upload your test scripts or test information that you have written. How will you execute and upload your test execution artifacts? So all of that becomes important. So there are tools which are already meant to do these things. You could easily get it online. And then it comes to, test coverage, like you could use JUnits, Jest, and then there is Selenium for your automation testing. So there are many tools that are available in the market. So you could basically take any of the tool that you want. So one of the quotes that I read was, quality means doing it right when nobody is watching. And that is very important, because when you know that you have to deliver something, you will make sure that it is of the best quality. And that is the judgment of a true individual, where you are very truthful to what you are delivering. So now when you constantly keep doing that, people will start trusting you. They will feel confident that the product that you will deliver will always be of superior quality. That being said, I have created a quality Scrum course where I take you from 0 to 100 to become a Scrum Master, and also even apply for PSM1 certification. So now that I've said that, please go ahead and check that link out in the description to enroll in the course. If you need any information in terms of Scrum or SDLC, I have plethora of information on TeachingAgile.com. Do check it out, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one.